Kaptain. I'm the board game captain.
I'm Lynn.
And today we're going to be reviewing and talking about Be Live's We Will Only Know Summer. Now, this is a game by Matt Shoemaker and was published by Hit 'em with a Shoe Games. So now we did a preview and tutorial video to this way back when it was on Kickstarter. At this point, we have also already released an unboxing to this, so you've already seen the components. We're going to keep this review fairly short because we've done a whole lot of content on this game already. I'll try to put a link to the preview video because the tutorial and the preview video is mostly still accurate. There's only a couple of minor changes and we're going to talk about them now. What has been improved. So if you saw our unboxing, check out our unboxing too, and you can see that the components are beautiful in this game. We're just not going to go too deeply into it because, again, we've already done huge amounts of content on this stuff already. But yeah, they've got wooden beeples, which Lynn is a big fan of. They've got really nice dice and tiles and cards. The artwork is gorgeous. 2 thumbs up on the production on this one. They've really hit it out of the park with the final production. So the game works just about the same as it did when we did our tutorial. There are some minor differences. The big differences are, one, there's a lot of little things that they did to clean up stuff that was a little fiddly in the pre-production version. Like now, it used to be that you had to remember how many bees you were going to have possibly birthed before giving the pollen to have them be birthed. Now, they have an area you just put those bees on the board. It makes it much easier. And like another one that's like that is that with the Cleanly Queen, it would take 2 notches every time of disease to make you go. So you had to stand it up and put it down and stand it up and put it down. And it was hard to keep track of. Now they just have the disease track is 2-sided. And you just flip it to the other side when you have the Cleanly Queen, which is great. Way simplified. Streamlined is the key word here. They streamlined a lot of the rules in here. One of the things I really like is the addition of being able to pick the better of 2 tiles when you're scouting. So we were talking about this, that we both thought that was big upgrade, right? Yeah, because just having to rely on dumb luck in the pre-production version was rough. That the 2 tiles, even though it's only 2, it's just a huge improvement. Okay, so the production is really nice. Okay, they streamlined rating, made it a little simpler, but there's still, and this is one of the gripes we still have, there's still 2 separate rating systems. If you're rating, there's one rating system, and if there's the Wild Hives rating, it's a separate rating system. They use the D6 instead of the D4s, which I really like. The 12-sided D4s are really cool, though. That said, though, overall, the rating has been streamlined and simplified a bit, or maybe just made easier to understand. So it's like, I really like that they streamlined it, but I really still would have liked it all to be merged into a single system. Everything else is mostly the same. There's not a huge amount of difference in here, except that, again, components are really nice in the final production on this. The rule book is really, really well done. The pre-production rules were hard to get through. They were very tough for me. It took me a while to figure out how to play this game in pre-production, but boy, has Matt Shoemaker cleaned up the rules. This rule book is fantastic. It's like, there's no ambiguities in here. It's so well done. I'm actually in love with the way he did this rule book. Lots of diagrams. I mean, look at all this. Isn't this beautiful?
Yes.
It's absolutely gorgeous. Again, they stuck with a really nice art style. The final art on the cards is gorgeous. So what do you think? What do you have to say about Be Lives? So now talking about it in its totality. So we talked a little bit in the preview video about it, but like, what are some of your? Let's go with negatives first. What are some of your negatives with Be Lives? We Will Only Know Summer.
It's very long.
It is a rather long game. I don't think that's as much of a problem for me as it is with you. I think this is a personal preference thing. You think it overstays its welcome.
Yes. And
this has not changed for you.
No.
Now Matt Shoemaker was talking about the possibility of adding in an alternate version that was quicker, but that never came to fruition. There's a solo play version in here, and there's a longer version here. Okay, so here's the thing. I disagree with you that the game is too long, but while I disagree, I don't think it needs to be longer. I don't know if there's anyone out there who really wants the multiple years variant, but there is a multiple years variant in here. I really think they should have had a truncated version though, because I could see like you would have preferred a shorter experience, and I do think some people would have liked that. Anything else you have a gripe on this now?
Not really.
Yeah, just about all the my only other gripe is again the two systems for the rating. Just about all the other minor gripes I had in pre-production have been taken care of. They're all cleaned up. And even the two systems for the rating has become a lesser gripe because of how they cleaned up rating in general. So I'm not, like, it used to be a bigger gripe for me. Now it's been shrunk a bit. I still would have liked it to all be using the same dice and a much more unified system, regardless of whether it was an NPC hive or your hive rating. But it is easier to understand the way it works now. So, okay. So that is definitely improved. I also am a big fan of the artwork. I love the way the game looks. And it's very quirky. It has a very unique play style. That whole thing about how it's so important in the spring to spread out hives and get them everywhere. But then later on, you basically want to kill those hives to get points is so weird. You know, you have to change strategies halfway through if you want to do well. Some people might think that's a bit restrictive because it kind of, I mean, there's like a right and wrong way to play this. There really is a right and wrong way to play this. But I think it's kind of cool that there's a learning curve in this. And after playing it a few times, you realize what strategies work and what don't. And of course, he was definitely going for a simulation of how beehives work. So how about you? What are some positives?
My positives, well, I like that it is a simulation. That's distracting.
Sorry.
Because when you first told me about this game, I didn't realize it was going to be like an actual simulation of how beehives work. I thought it was just going to be like a theme of it, you know? And that ties into your strategy has to change because according to the season, like how beehives, what their priority is changes according to what season it is. You know?
Definitely. And the resources, the spaces give you change. There's spaces that are great in the spring and then meh in the summer and fall. And there's, vice versa. There's only that one space to get the water from year round is the water space. But, you've got the wilt spaces, which are great in the autumn, but not good anywhere else. You've got the I forget what the name of the spaces that are good in the spring are. Bloom spaces, I think
so.
Yeah, so the bloom spaces are they're in my opinion, I think they're overall the best harvesting spaces because they're phenomenal in the spring, they're terrible in the fall, but then they're kind of okay again. Excuse me, they're terrible in the summer and then they're okay again in the fall. So like they I think they're the overall best spaces because you get the most out of them total, but then there's other spaces that are just hands down better in other seasons because the harvest spaces are just better in the I'm forgetting the names. So it's bloom tiles are okay. It's bloom tiles, harvest tiles, and wilt tiles. So so that's what I was looking for. Yeah, so each one is good in a different season, and you have to do a lot of exploring to find the right tiles because in different seasons you're going to need as much of the honey and pollen as you can get your little insect legs on to be able to use to
little bee paws.
Your little bee paws. Get your little bee paws on to be able to use for getting new bees, for growing your hive, and in spring if you can swarm twice in spring, that's a huge point boost because 5 points that early in the game is enormous, is a really big thing. And then getting 10 points that early in the game that's how I like to do it. I like to, if I can, swarm twice in spring and then spend the rest of the game killing those hives. Because then you get good points doing it the other way. Okay, so in the pre-production, I thought there was a lot of potential here. We both kind of talked about there was potential. So the big question is, did it live up to the potential. Did they improve enough? Is this a good game? Even with, now you have more issues with it than I do. So do you want to go first or second on that?
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead.
On my rating?
Yeah, and discussing on whether or not you think it lived up to its potential.
I'm going to give it a 7.
Oh, okay.
Because I do like it. I just don't want, it is in depth and it takes a long time, and I don't always want to take so long for just a simulation.
We need to talk about this because when we did the preview, we didn't rate it because we didn't have final production, but you were obviously not a 7.
Okay.
You've come up. You've definitely come up. So is it the streamlining of a lot of the rules that has helped you to come up to a 7? Or?
Yes.
Okay. So now I was higher than you based on just my enjoyment of the game in the pre-production, though I was not quite a 7 yet either, and I'm a 7 now also, which is the like it, and I'll play it just about any time someone asks. And the reason I've come up to a 7 is the production copy, the pieces are fantastic, the artwork is gorgeous, and the streamlining really helped a lot. I still would have liked an alternate rules way of playing that made it quicker. Unfortunately, that was not in there. And I also still would have liked the merging of the different raid systems to use the same type of dice and be much more similar or even identical. But that being said, they fixed so many of the other little gripes that we had with this game by the time they brought it to production that this has become a really beautiful, interesting, and unique game. The uniqueness is, I think, the key. Like you were talking about it being a simulation of a beehive. Mm-hmm. And that's so weird and interesting in a good way. Because like it would have been one thing if you said you originally thought it was just going to be representative. Like, can you imagine if this was just a worker placement game with bees?
Yeah.
And you were like, okay, well, it's a worker placement game with bees. It's a fun worker placement game, but it's just the fact that they made it a simulation of running a beehive and did that well makes this game stand out. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really interesting. So we had originally said that if you were interested in a full-on simulation of running a beehive, if you were, and I think I referenced the old video game Sim Ant, because even though that's ants and not bees, it feels very similar. You're actually getting into the nitty-gritty of running the beehive. If you're into that, this game is great. This game's a lot of fun. So 7 stars from both of us. This is a 2 thumbs up review. Check out our unboxing to take a look at the components. Check out our preview video to see actually how a few turns run through of this. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about Bee Lives, We Will Only Know Summer, be sure to put them in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this review and you'd like to see us do more like it, be sure to give it a like. Share it on all forms of social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Kaptain. That's Kaptain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.